Before he became a legend, before he became a witness to one of the darkest chapters in American history, he was just a Lakota boy in a world that was already beginning to break. His people still rode the plains, still followed sacred ways, still listened to the old stories, but pressure was building from every side. Soldiers, settlers, broken promises, hunger, disease, and the slow tightening grip of a nation that wanted the land and did not care what had to be destroyed to take it. And then, while still a child, Black Elk saw something that would shape the rest of his life. Not just a dream, not just an omen, a vision. A vision so powerful that he would spend decades trying to understand it, and his people would later understand it as both a gift and a burden. Because sometimes the hardest thing is not to see the future. The hardest thing is to survive it. According to the National Park Service, Black Elk was likely born in December 1863 near the Little Powder River, in what later became Wyoming. He was Oglala Lakota, had 5 sisters and 1 brother, and was related to some of the most important names in Lakota history, including Crazy Horse, who was his second cousin. He belonged to a world that was spiritually rich, politically threatened, and increasingly surrounded. Throughout his early childhood, he watched his homeland change. He began having visions at around 5 years old, but when he was 9, after becoming very sick, he experienced the vision that would define his life. NPS says that in this vision he encountered the 6 grandfathers, spiritual powers associated with the directions, earth, and sky, and received sacred gifts, including a pipestone pipe. Afterward, he believed he had been given power, responsibility, and the ability to heal. For years, Black Elk kept the full meaning of that vision inside himself. He did not run into the village shouting revelation. He carried it in silence, waiting for its meaning to unfold. That detail matters because it tells us something about the seriousness of Lakota spiritual life. Power was not performance. Vision was not spectacle. A holy experience demanded patience, humility, and interpretation. The vision, as later described in the tradition that reached the world through Black Elk Speaks, became central to how many readers understood him. A child chosen to bear a message in a time of collapse. Britannica says the book would later describe Black Elk's mystical visions from the age of 9, and those visions became one of the most enduring parts of his global legacy. But even here, we need honesty. What the world knows of Black Elk often comes through translation, editing, and interpretation, not raw, untouched memory. In 1876, when Black Elk was only 12, he witnessed one of the most famous conflicts in the history of the American West, the Battle of the Greasy Grass, known more widely as the Battle of the Little Bighorn. NPS explains that this conflict came after treaty violations, Custer's 1874 expedition into the Black Hills, and the discovery of gold in land that the 1868 Fort Laramie Treaty had recognized as Lakota territory. Lakota, Dakota, Cheyenne, and Arapaho forces united under leaders including Sitting Bull and Crazy Horse. Black Elk was too young to be a major fighter, but he was there. He sensed something terrible was coming. He later remembered the victory songs his people sang. Yet even this triumph contained the shadow of what was to come. The Lakota had defeated Custer, but they had not defeated the system that kept coming. More soldiers, more settlers, more pressure, more hunger. The victory at Little Bighorn was real, but it was not the end of the war. In some ways, it was the beginning of the end. After the wars intensified and after leaders like Crazy Horse were gone, Black Elk's spiritual responsibility deepened. NPS says he eventually shared his great vision with a medicine man named Black Road, who instructed him to reenact it through a ceremony Black Elk called the horse dance. That ritual helped transform fear into purpose. From that point forward, Black Elk became increasingly recognized as a holy man and healer among his people. This part of the story is important because it shifts Black Elk from witness to guide. He was not only someone who saw history happening around him, he was also someone trying to spiritually respond to it. In a world where the Lakota faced military violence, land theft, and social collapse, healing itself became a form of resistance. In 1886, Black Elk joined Buffalo Bill Cody's Wild West show. According to NPS, He saw it as an opportunity to better understand the white world that had overwhelmed his people. He traveled first to New York, performing at Madison Square Garden, and then to England in 1887 as part of Queen Victoria's Golden Jubilee celebrations. A Lakota holy man who had grown up amid war and sacred ceremony now stood inside the machinery of mass entertainment. NPS and the Pipestone brochure both note that after missing his ship home, Black Elk traveled further in Europe with a rival show before eventually returning. That episode gives the story a strange, almost unreal quality. A boy of the plains, a visionary, a survivor of conquest, now moving through London and Europe as part of a performance of the very frontier that had nearly destroyed his people. When Black Elk returned home, he did not come back to strength. He came back to devastation. Britannica says that after Europe, he found his people on the Bleak Pine Ridge Reservation, starving, diseased, and hopeless. NPS echoes this, saying he found them short on food and ravaged by disease. The world he had left under pressure had now become a place of forced dependence and spiritual emergency. Late in 1890, the United States Army moved against Lakota communities in an atmosphere of fear surrounding the ghost dance. Britannica states that Black Elk Speaks ends with the massacre at Wounded Knee, where approximately 150 to 300 Lakota were killed by U.S. troops. NPS says Black Elk was not present when the slaughter began, but came after hearing cannon and gunfire. He helped survivors, wept for the dead, and later wished he had died there too. This is the heart of the tragedy. A boy who had seen a grand spiritual vision, a young man who had traveled the world, a healer who wanted to help his people, now stood among the bodies of men, women, and children on the snow. After Wounded Knee, the old world did not simply weaken. For many Lakota, it felt as if it had been shattered. After the surrender, Black Elk entered a new phase of life. NPS records that he married Katie Warbonnet in 1892, and after her death in 1903 he converted to Catholicism in 1904, taking the name Nicholas. He later remarried Anna Brings White in 1905. Yet his conversion did not erase his Lakota identity. According to NPS, he became a Catholic educator while still remaining a spiritual leader among the Lakota. Britannica notes that this Catholic side of his life was largely omitted from Black Elk Speaks, even though he spent many years as a catechist in Manderson and died in 1950 as Nicholas Black Elk. That omission matters because it reminds us that Black Elk was not a simple symbol. He was not frozen in one role. He lived in more than one spiritual world at once. In 1930, Black Elk met poet and writer John G. Neihardt. Britannica explains that Black Elk dictated his life story in Lakota, with his son Ben translating into English and Neihardt's daughter Enid transcribing. Neihardt then shaped those conversations into an autobiographical narrative published in 1932 as Black Elk Speaks. The book later became one of the most influential texts through which the world encountered Lakota spirituality and the tragedy of the plains. Yet even this famous book comes with questions. Britannica says it has been praised as a major source of information on 19th century plains culture and sold more than 1 million copies by the early 21st century. But it has also faced criticism for inaccuracies, romanticization, omissions, and the possibility that Neihardt shaped Black Elk's story for white readers. So the book is both a gift and a problem, a doorway into Black Elk's world, and also a reminder that every story can be altered by the medium that carries it. Why does Black Elk still matter? Because his life sits at the crossroads of nearly every major question in Native American history. Land, resistance, memory, faith, translation, violence, survival, and representation. NPS says he symbolized courage and wisdom for indigenous and non-indigenous people alike. His ability to bridge Christianity and Lakota tradition made him a figure of unusual reach. And his legacy did not stop with books. The Diocese of Rapid City opened the cause for his canonization in 2017, presenting Nicholas Black Elk as a figure whose journey to sainthood still inspires believers. Whether one approaches him as a Lakota holy man, a witness to Wounded Knee, a Catholic catechist, or a cultural bridge, Black Elk remains too large to fit inside a single category. In 2016, South Dakota's highest peak was renamed Black Elk Peak. The U.S. Forest Service says the surrounding wilderness and the peak now honor Black Elk, the Oglala Lakota holy man, while NPS notes that the renaming also recognized the mountain's spiritual significance in his vision and corrected a name many found offensive because of General Harney's role in anti-Lakota violence. Some Lakota still make pilgrimages there to welcome the thunder beings. So maybe that is how we should leave him, not as a relic, not as a tragic symbol trapped forever in the 19th century, but as a voice still echoing across the Black Hills. A man who saw too much, survived too much, and still tried to leave behind meaning instead of silence. Black Elk did not save his people from history. No one could, but he helped make sure history would not erase them.